When it comes to learning English, you probably know what to do. Like, you have to practice, you have to listen and do all of these things. But the problem is, you don't have a lot of time to do all these things. Maybe you go to the university or you work, you have a family, and you have other life responsibilities. You're a busy person and you don't find the time for language learning, for learning English. Well, if that's you, don't worry. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how you can make time for learning English, plus how you can use that time more productively so that you get more results for less effort. The first strategy is making a routine. So, tonight, before you go to bed, make a routine for tomorrow. Like, write your to do list hour by hour. Make a routine. For example, at 6 a.m., wake up. 6 to 7, morning routine. 7 to 8, prepare for work. 8 to 5 p.m., go to the work. Like, hour by hour, write down your routine and the tasks you need to do. Also, make some time for learning English. Like, before work, you can work on your English for an hour, and after work or school you can again work on your English for an hour. If you're a busy person, I recommend just working on your English or any other language you're learning for like 1 hour to 2 hours. But if you're more free like me, you can study for more, like 3 hours, 4 hours. There have been periods in my life where I worked on my English for like 6 hours, 8 hours a day even. But that was the lockdown, COVID-19, remember? So I had a lot of free time. But these days I only work on my English for like 2 hours, maybe maximum 3 hours per day. And you can do the same. So make a routine tonight for tomorrow, and every single day before you go to bed, make a routine and write down the tasks you need to do, including for improving your English, and you will just magically have more time, because usually it's not that we don't have time, it's just that we use our time on things that we don't want. So in order to prevent that, you need to, step by step write down what tasks you need to do, and then do those things effectively and as efficiently as possible. The second strategy is to follow the 80-20 principle when it comes to learning English. So there is this idea in productivity called the principle, or the 80-20 rule. What that means is 20% of the outcomes come from 80% of the effort, and 80% of the outcomes come from 20% of the effort. What that means is, when it comes to language learning, what most people do is they follow methods that are less productive, that only produces like 20% results, even though those methods take a lot of time. So someone might be learning English for 4 hours a day, but they're only getting 20% of the results. Their English is not improving that much. And there might be another person who is only working on his English for like 1 hour a day, but he might be getting like 80% of the results. What is the 20% of the work that we can do as language learners to get and produce 80% of the results? When it comes to learning English or any other language, it's just two things. First, identify what is your goal, like what do you want. So let's say you want to speak English fluently and confidently. That already removes like the writing and the reading. So you only have to focus on like speaking and listening, just two things. If you just focus on these and do them every single day, that's like the 20% of the work you need to do to generate and produce 80% of the results towards your goal. So just identify your goal, write down the actions, the 2 to 3 steps you need to take, and just do those in those 2 or 1 hour every single day. You won't need 4 hours or 8 hours. You like just 1 or 2 hours would be enough for language learning, as long as you identify the right actions and you do them every single day. The third step is to stop studying grammar. For the love of God, if you're studying grammar and your goal is to speak English fluently and confidently, I don't know what to tell you, but it's just not gonna work. No, I'm not against grammar. Of course, grammar is useful in some ways, but I don't think it's important for speaking at all. Like, personally, I studied grammar when I was in school, like for 3, 4, 5 years, but it didn't help me at all with my speaking. After I studied, grammar for 5 years, I still couldn't even introduce myself in English. Imagine, like, I knew all the rules, like most of them, but I couldn't say a word. I mean, of course, I could say a word, but like I couldn't introduce myself in English. I couldn't say like proper sentences without, thinking for 10 minutes. So if you don't want to get stuck and you want to speak English fluently, for the love of God, stop studying grammar, especially if you don't have time. If you have like 1 hour a day for English and you just spend that 1 hour on learning grammar, you're just wasting your time. You're missing the most important parts, which are listening and speaking. You need to be focusing on those. And grammar is just, something that you learn by default. It's just something you learn by, as a byproduct, as they say. It's the same with like vocabulary. Yes, you can, write words down and look them up, but basically you just learn vocabulary through listening. You hear a new word that you don't understand, you get curious, you check it out, and then you learn it, and then you use it in your speaking. That's just how it works. So stop studying grammar. If you have maybe like 5 hours a day, then yeah, you can like dedicate 1 hour to grammar. But if you don't have time, focus on the most important parts. This is like the 80-20. Grammar is like the 80% of the work. It's difficult. You got to memorize the rules, but you only get like 20% reward for it. So why bother studying it? And on the other hand, listening and speaking are like the 20% of the work, which you get like 80% of the results for. It's your choice. I'm not saying you have to follow me, but in my opinion, this is, I think, the best way. The next thing you can do is the weekends. So take advantage of the weekends. So let's say you're busy working 5 days in a row. You're probably free on like Saturdays and Sundays. Of course, like you still have to do like your chores and other things, but you'll probably have more time on the weekends. Take advantage of that time. Maybe study for like 4 to 6 hours. Practice a bit more. Listen to English more on the weekends. Do things more. Focus on your vocabulary. Maybe you can learn an accent on the weekends, or like improve your pronunciation more, or do other things. So depending on what your goal is, do more on the weekends. Do more activities related to learning English. Read more, listen more, write more, practice more. Just do more. Take more action on the weekends. So even if on the other days you only practice for like 1 hour, 1 hour, 1.5 hour because of your busy schedule, then it's fine. You can still, like make up for it on the weekends, on Saturdays and Sundays. So take advantage of that. The last thing I would say is, don't use time as an excuse. I know like you're probably not one of those people who say like, oh, but I don't have time. Whenever like I had a student, he came up to me and he said, ask him how do I learn English. I explained to him like the entire process. You have to do this, and that. I gave him basically the blueprint, the action steps he could take. And he was like, but I don't have time. And I'm like, everybody has got like 24 hours. You probably have time. So you're probably not making this as an excuse. You're probably genuinely very busy, but some of you watching this might be just, putting off speaking practice because they're afraid, and they just use, like I don't have time as an excuse. You're probably not one of those people, because the kind of person who watches these videos, like genuinely interested in learning English, but maybe sometimes you make an excuse, or like sometimes you might not be as busy as you think. So like sometimes you have to examine yourself. Am I genuinely busy, or am I just like making an excuse to avoid, practicing my English? So you have to ask yourself that. And the way you figure that out is by, the first strategy making a routine. Like tonight, make a routine for tomorrow and write down all the important tasks you need to do, and then you will know whether you have more time left for language learning or not. Also, prioritize learning English. Like, learning English is super important. It's not something to be taken like lightly. Yes, of course, some people are learning it for fun, and I agree with that, but it's probably like one of the most important things you're doing in terms of like improving your career, or maybe you want to start a business or start a YouTube channel or whatever. So learning English is super important. Like, prioritize it more, work on it more, and make more time for it. All right. I hope this lesson was helpful. If you need any help, personal help and coaching when it comes to learning English, you can try my program, my community, which is the first link in the description. Inside, I give you feedback and I tell you what to do, which action steps to take, what study plan to follow. I correct your mistakes. I talk to you to improve your English. All of that is happening inside my community. Okay, I hope this lesson was helpful. See you in the next one.